So let's talk a little bit about the Xbox. And no, this didn't all of a sudden become a gaming channel or a debate between the Xbox and the PlayStation 4. Even though as a kid, I kind of did prefer the Virtual Boy, there was just something about completely destroying your retinas that really appealed to me as a child. You see, the Xbox recently just announced one of its most anticipated and long-awaited feature, the Xbox Game Pass, that basically gives users the ability to play Xbox games on their mobile device. And as of right this moment, it's only going to be available to Android users due to some very strict stipulations from Apple's App Store. And with the gaming landscape the way it is, it bodes the question on whether the Xbox Game Pass is going to be that killer app that finally makes die-hard iPhone users switch to Android. So first of all, Xbox Game Pass is a subscription-based service launched back in 2017 that basically gives the user access to a boatload of games for one base price. So in theory, you can actually just pay like 10 bucks and gain access to such great Microsoft exclusives as Gears of War, Halo, or Forza, or other exclusives like Gears of War, Halo, or Forza. Now, Microsoft continually adds new third-party and first-party titles to their rotating library in Game Pass. So at any given time, a user can have access to over 100 games at once. Now, fast forward to 2019 when Microsoft announced its Project xCloud. Now, xCloud was basically Microsoft's answer to mobile gaming. And that's in the same way that is Pepsi okay the answer to do you have Coke? It's basically the same thing, but not really. You see, with xCloud, in a pretty ingenious way, users would just be able to download one application on their mobile device, and that application would give them access to the game library that's stored on the cloud. So all you would really need to do is boot up the application, go in, select the game you want to play, and you're good to go. But when they started rolling out the beta, players started realizing that there was a lot of Android side beta testing going on and not very much iOS beta testing going on. And then came the announcement that xCloud was going to be released to the public in September, only to Android users. You see, Apple has this pretty strict stipulation in their App Store that any application in the App Store that has apps within it, those apps also need to be independently reviewed and approved before they can gain access to the App Store and access to all the millions of iPhone users out there. So in a situation like this with xCloud, every single game of that 100 game library would have to be independently reviewed and approved before the user would even be able to play it. And Microsoft isn't having that. So in a way, I guess you could kind of think of Apple like that really overbearing parent that has to approve every single friend you hang out with before you hang out with them because they're afraid they're gonna have a bad influence on you. And I think it's time to cut the cord, Apple. So now currently there's over 10 million Game Pass subscribers out there, and the number just keeps going up because it's a really good service to have. And you take that from someone who used to purchase consoles and didn't have enough money to buy the games to go along with the console, so I would have to wait, or if the console didn't come with a game, I would go without a game for a really long time. So Game Pass, paying one specific fee and gaining access to all these games is actually a godsend to some people. Now, what do you think the chances are that of those 10 million subscribers, some of them own iPhones? And this very strict Apple rule is preventing all those iPhone users that subscribe to Game Pass access to a pretty cool feature that they're kind of already paying for. Not to mention that mobile gaming made up for about 60% of the overall revenue for the global gaming market in 2019 and generated more than $49 billion in revenue and a profit of $16.9 billion. And it's forecast to grow about 2.9% annually and hit about $56.6 billion by 2024. That's a lot of money. Now, if you really think about it, there's a ton of mobile gamers out there that are going to want to take advantage of this service independent from an Xbox. And right now it's only on the Android platform. So this can actually hurt Apple in two ways. One, if you have existing Xbox users that have access to Game Pass and have an iPhone that want access to the streaming service, they may consider jumping ship just to gain access to it. And that's actually made evident by a recent article that was published on CNET by a writer named Eric Franklin. He's basically a lifelong iPhone user that I assume is also an Xbox gamer and an Xbox Game Pass owner that is now considering jumping ship because of this service. And if you actually just read the comments under that article, he's not the only one. I'm gonna make sure to include that article in the description of this video so you can check it out yourself. And if you're really paying attention to the way the gaming industry is currently going, with companies like Google making Google Stadia, and you gotta believe that Sony is in the background making a service that's very similar to this. More and more companies are gonna start coming up with applications that mimic what xCloud is doing. And if this stipulation stays the way it is, those applications are only going to be available on Android. And having those applications not be available on iOS really just makes a stark contrast between iOS and Android that wasn't really there before. This is really not to say that Apple won't reverse course at some point if they look at the revenue that those companies are generating on their different platforms and also start losing some users from their user base. They might do an about face and change the policy, but it has to be a business decision. But if you think about it, after taking such a hard stance too, reversing course can leave the door open for a lot more companies to challenge Apple's policies to its App Store. Something similar to what you're seeing with their beef with Fortnite currently. So again, it's really possible for you to see services like xCloud or Google Stadia appear on the iPhone sooner or later, but it really depends on the popularity of these things. If they blow up, if they become extremely popular and start affecting Apple's bottom line, then I do believe Apple will make an about face. But currently at the moment, those services are only available on an Android phone, which may cause some iPhone users to start looking at Android as this thing has a killer app, I might want to jump ship. So I pass the question off to you guys. Are you currently an iPhone user that games on Xbox or has access to Xbox Game Pass or finds this service interesting? If you are you considering jumping ship just to gain access to this service? Go ahead and comment in the comment section down below the video. I would love to know. And while you're down there, you know what to do. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button. With that subscribe button, it definitely helps out the channel, and that bell for notification. That bell's actually pretty important because it's the only way you guys are going to know when we release some cool, helpful content like this one. Until next time, guys, you can check out a video here we did about the new Google Sabrina. It's the latest Google Chromecast that's coming out. We got some information on pricing and other things. You can check that video out there. And this is something that YouTube believes you enjoy watching, guys. Thanks so much again for checking out the video. And as always, make sure to stay safe. And until see you next time, peace out.